This is Brownie's Podcast!
Degenerates! Oh, yes. Round 10 was off the hook. Everyone's in the studio. Everyone's got a good energy about them this morning. A very special guest on the pod as well. One of the Cornes members.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Not sure which one it's going to be, but Dino, I'm sure you'll lead into it beautifully. Great day yesterday. Carlton, Collingwood, 80,000 there. I took my wife, Kylie, who had no interest in the day. So she loves Brit Brown. She had the sunnies on all day. It was very dark and cold, so she went incognito. But Olivia, of course, mad Carlton supporter. She absolutely loved it. And I'll put it out there right now.
What?
I know this is a big statement.
Yeah.
But there is no better scone in the world than the scone at a corporate box at the MCG.
Well put, John.
Not the ones with sultanas in them.
No.
The plain ones. The sultana ones were left late.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them left. Plain ones gone. Gone in 2 seconds. So all the grandmas out there,
Yeah.
I'd argue that even your best recipe is not going to top the
Nah.
scone in the corporate box.
Also, Brody, you wouldn't know about this, but in the corporate box of the MCG, they've got the normal Bain Marie meal, which is always lovely, but at three-quarter time, the party pies and sausage rolls come out, brother.
They're perfectly cooked.
Oh.
How do they get the temperature so fine? Like it's bordering on burning your tongue off.
Yeah.
But just right.
Brody doesn't get behind the glass too often, being at Port Adelaide Nuffy. Hey, just when you think
They don't have corporate boxes at Port Adelaide games. do they?
just when you think the season and the year couldn't have got any more crazy, we dish up some unbelievable results to finish
sensational.
this round.
Hey, my name is Dean Thomas, and this is my review of round 10.
You play the music, don't you? Last week was the weed song. Are we sticking with that, or are we
Yeah, I'm
going to go
sticking
back
with
to the backing?
What would you rather?
What's the
You used
original?
to play country practice, but
Country
you've,
practice
you've
was
got away
norm.
from that one, and you've gone back to the weed song.
Went for the weed song last week.
Sticking with it. My name is Dean Thomas, and round 10 was a goddamn ripper. How many close games did we
A
have?
lot of close ones. 4 points on Friday night. Kicked it off.
Hey, shout out to the boundary umpire in the Melbourne Port Adelaide game, where at the very end there was a stoppage and Melbourne could have got it back into their 50 to potentially win the game. That, said the boundary umpire, and pretty much threw it directly down the line, down Port's end. Did you see that?
No,
It's
I didn't see it.
It's unbelievable.
It was terrible. So Scott Lysett was competing in the ruck, and I believe it was Gorn, and everyone was like, "This is it. Melbourne are going to go." And then he just like a placid penis, the ball just falls over the back of his head.
Into the path of Pal Pepper, who just runs down. Game over.
No, I've got to go and get this.
Mate,
It was bad.
unbelievable. The Eagles have taken another step to reserve that spot in September
Does Adam Simpson survive today?
at the Barley Four Seasons.
You've got to go back to 1979, right? Hawthorn's 116-point win over West Coast is the second biggest victory from the bottom place side, the worst side in the comp, against another team. So that's pretty extraordinary.
I don't know if is it an administration problem at the Eagles or is it a Simo thing? I reckon it's probably just time for something new.
Dino, does
Nothing
he
can-
survive today or at least till the end of the week?
Great question. He will survive to the end of the week because we owe him a lot. We can't just put a bullet in him.
Yeah, you owe him a lot. Yeah, you got 2 more years at $1 million a year probably.
Yeah, no shit.
No shit.
and
you
all
owe him
those
a lot.
Hungry Jacks that he owns over there.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
A lot of morbid fascination with Carlton this year. Meanwhile, by the way, Carlton not doing anything ever.
No.
Meanwhile, your boys have just been silently winning. You're on top of the ladder,
7 in a
Jonathan.
row, the mighty Brisbane Lions. Actually, I think we're second behind Collingwood, but they've been good.
Also, what I love about your team is every time there's a goal from Charlie,
Oh,
come on.
and now the crowd is
Yeah.
continuing on the song. So there was a goal on the weekend where even by the time it got back to the centre square, the umpire bounced it.
Yeah.
The crowd was still singing Country Road.
So good, eh?
How good's that? Because the crowd was pretty ordinary. There's only 20,000 on the weekend, so well done.
If Brisbane Lions do go on and win the flag this year, it'll change the narrative of Joe Danaher's career more than probably any player in the history of the AFL.
It's a
Yeah,
big
man.
statement.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good player, takes some great grabs, kicks some great goals. He's got his deficiencies, obviously. We know that left Essendon, went up to Brisbane, laconic, right? His form at the moment is leading them to potentially a flag. And if they do win it, will look back on Joe Danaher's career much different.
And as I said
Absolutely.
last week, he's filled out finally. He no longer looks like a gangly Clydesdale.
No, I gave him my shoulders, Dino. Like you said. Perfect synergy, though, Dino.
Synergy.
20-year reunion for the mighty Brisbane Lions when we defeated Collingwood by the length of the straight in 2003. So it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Brisbane beats Collingwood in the grand final. It's perfect synergy this year.
Do you agree with that statement, JB, about Joe Danaher?
I do, mate.
Hey, one more thing on Charlie. How about that 1-2 goal? How good is a sweet give and go?
Yeah, I love it.
Bang!
Well, you only give it if you know you're going to get it back.
Correct.
Smart man.
In life and football, John. Back to the round. Shout out to rules that never get their time in the sun. Say hello to the interchange breach.
Oh.
It's like that rule was so sick of being ignored that it plotted to reveal itself in the most boss dramatic fashion ever.
I'd forgotten that there is actually a cap on rotations.
Hey, by the way, can I just ask you two, is that ever missed? Or is it
Never.
That's a genuine
There's
fuck up?
someone sitting there just specifically counting them.
How about Buddy's poker face?
Mate, what about
Him
Buddy?
and Dane Rampy.
Buddy could arguably be one of the greatest players that's ever played the game, right?
Yeah.
He equalled, was it Gordon Coventry's record?
No,
on the-
Doug Wade.
Doug Wade on the
Yeah.
weekend. Yet, when he realised that they were getting a free kick at the top of the square, he started screaming like a proper nuffy, like a supporter nuffy.
Port Adelaide nothing.
He was screaming
I know. And Dane
in the
Rampy
face of Luke McDonald.
Should Dane Rampy have been penalised when he went bananas? He's got special permission to sit on the bench. He went bananas when there was the actual interchange breach and started jumping up and down and ran towards the boundary.
It was all
Doug,
happening.
you're so
wasn't it?
right, because Buddy's normally Mr. Cool, but he full like,
Mate, just goes to show how competitive he still is.
no way.
Unbelievable.
Still fire in that belly. Finally, Carlton, Collingwood, John, you were there. What a spectacle. I feel like we could have stopped
Well, it
talking.
wasn't really a... No, you're right. The whole event was a
Yeah,
spectacle.
yeah,
The actual game itself wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to stop talking about Carlton until they prove they're worth talking about.
Well, they've got nothing coming through in the VFL either. Like, Paddy Dow was good, but he's an inside mid. He's never going to take Chera, Walsh, Cripps. Or,
I'll tell you one bloke might have done a better job in the ruck. Tom de Koning instead of Jack
you know, he
Silvani.
kicked the ball the wrong way yesterday.
Yeah, but he actually played all right.
He played all right.
Mate,
but
I would have preferred him in the ruck instead of Silvani.
if you're asking for $800,000 a year, one, you've got to be playing AFL footy, and two, you've got to know which end you're kicking.
Ash Johnson ascended
Oh, how good was
ascended to the clouds to get that ball, John. And the best thing about a specky, it looks so much better if you land.
that? Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Oh my God, Dog! If he lands on his feet, it's a good mark.
Yeah. It looks amazing because you look higher than what you were and you land flat on your back. What a great mark.
And finally, speaking of not talking about teams that probably deserve it, congrats to Pomeroy's boys. 7 in a row.
Yeah.
Second on the ladder.
Jeez, we are good. We are legitimately good.
Camperdown Kenny's got you boys firing. They play with great spirit. How good's Zach Butters?
Oh,
yeah.
He's unbelievable, isn't he?
And as you know, I've always backed Kenny Hinkley. I've never called for him to be sacked. I have been on the bandwagon the entire time. So it's good to see the boys playing for him and really getting the win.
I loved how post-game Connor Rozee was interviewed and he said, he was asked about, daunted by Melbourne's midfield. Did you look into them too much? Petrarca, Oliver, Viney? And he goes, no. He goes, we looked at more, we thought we'll take it up to them.
Yeah, right on.
And I love that attitude from the young Port Adelaide midfielders. And they did do that. They wiped them.
They hunted them and they
hunted
dominated. And there was a pickup to the final goal, the sealer, when Rosie snapped it around his body. There was a pickup from Horn Francis off the deck in the wet.
Unbelievable.
It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in football.
Has he got as good a balance as Gary Ablett Jr.?
He's
Since
got
Gary Ablett
a
Jr.?
strong core, doesn't he? He's
Yeah.
pretty strong in
Like
the glutes.
Robert Harvey.
And
Low
so-
centre of gravity.
Yes.
it's-
like
and-
you, Dino.
Like me.
Like you.
And the forklift.
How important is the Ollie Florent miss against Port Adelaide in round 4? Because if they start the year 1 and 3, right, instead of going 2 and 2, that's when they got their run going. Things are different at Port. You know what I mean? So they've gone on and won the last 7.
How did Port start? Was it
No, they
They
smashed
won
Brisbane.
the first
That's
game,
right, yeah.
and then they lost the next 2, and it looked like they were going to lose the Sydney game.
That's right.
And the Jungle Drums were beating
Well, they were smashed by Collingwood round 2, beaten by
Adelaide.
Adelaide in the showdown. But, now looking back,
Yeah.
Adelaide's actually a pretty handy team. But it looked like Kenny was in a fair bit of trouble. But they love Kenny there now.
And still no Charlie Dixon.
No.
No Todd Marshall.
And no Todd Marshall. So they're getting it done without some big names. They're going well.
Who would have ever thought that now the general football public likes and sort of half follows Port Adelaide and Collingwood?
I
no
know.
shit.
Mate, never would have thought we'd see the day.
I'm swept up in it.
Who do we hate now? Like, who do we hate?
Yes.
Because no one really hates Essendon.
Yeah, we need a new-
Richmond is starting to be shit again.
Any nominations for a new hatred? I got nothing.
No.
I kind of like everyone. It's weird.
No.
I mean, you can hate the Eagles, but that's
Probably
like
Eagles.
punching pretty
It
hard
is.
down, man.
Punching Bambi.
Yeah. Jesus.
We're too mellow now.
No, the competition's even, God forbid. How good's that?
Yeah, the comp's even. It's been great to see. But Port were fantastic, so we look forward to them going forward.
All right, this interchange thing, let's...
Yeah, we've got to
bit
delve
more
into
zooming.
it, JB, because you might have an exclusive here. The mail is that they potentially could have gone 2 over 77. They certainly went 1 over. The vision there is Phillips coming off as planned, but Liam Shields cramping right near the interchange, and without asking or stopping for permission, he just runs straight off. So Phillips and Shields both come off, which causes the breach. Now, this is something I didn't know. They can only call for the free kick and 50-metre penalty when there's a stop of play. So that breach happened 41 seconds before the free kick was paid. If North Melbourne had won the footy in the back pocket, run the ball up to the wing, kicked it inside their forward line, and then it trickled out of bounds.
It would have been safe
The
from the
umpire would have
50.
blown the whistle, given the free kick and 50, but it would have only taken Sydney to the wing, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So that in all of what was going on was the amazing thing.
Yeah.
The stoppage of play happened in Sydney's forward line, which meant
Yeah,
goal at the top of the goal
absolutely.
square.
It's got to be stopped when it actually happens, when the breach happens. No doubt about it, because otherwise, what if there's no break in play in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, and then the siren goes, you're in front, and then the umpire goes at the break of play, okay, righto, stop.
Oh, mate, could
Let's
you
have a shot
imagine
from the
that? So
goal
one
square.
side's celebrating because the siren
Yeah.
sounds. He says no. Free
Absolutely.
kick 50. It's happened. It happened
It
to the
should
Hawks.
be at the time, so they're all mic'd up, the umpires, so word should come through.
Let's just check in with Buddy real quick after the call again.
You know that this exact thing happened to Hawthorn in 2010. I was playing at
shit.
Etihad Stadium against St Kilda,
Yeah.
and Sirioli was 40 out directly in front. Last quarter, we're up by 6 points. Walking in to kick a goal, kicks it, so we go 12 points up. As the breach happened, which was Grant Birchall coming off the interchange, free kick, 50. So the goal doesn't count.
50 back
50.
to half forward.
Yep, ball goes inside St Kilda's forward 50. Big boy McAvoy kicks a goal, and we draw.
No shit.
Instead of winning a game where, it's maybe you wanted to kill the person that's done it, but also you need to have a bit of empathy because
Absolutely.
it's by accident.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
JB, you reckon that they might not have gone over?
It's interesting. So I think there'll be a lot of investigations today. So everyone's talking, 77, they went over. I'm not sure North Melbourne are convinced that they actually went over, because I think the AFL may have docked them a rotation for the George Wardlaw concussion test. As we know, concussions don't count as concussion tests, or a concussed player going off doesn't count as a rotation. So it could eventuate by the end of the day that North Melbourne has found only had 75 rotations, which is right on the limit. So they may have not had a breach. Obviously, that can't change the
Can't
result.
change
Are you
the
talking
result.
about the Norwood loophole?
It could be the Norwood loophole.
That would be a cluster epic proportion.
Welcome back.
Stay tuned.
Cluster.
There is something I would like to point out.
Yeah.
All right. So as we know, Jonathan Brown is one of the head coaches at North Melbourne, and
Yeah.
I'm a head coach.
Oh,
he might
yeah.
deny head coach.
Yeah,
What is a problem? North Melbourne won their first 2 games of the season.
yeah.
They bring Jonathan Brown in.
Yeah.
No, that is not true.
You butt out.
I was there before round one.
You just-
Yeah, but
Microphone
we
off.
hadn't announced it yet. Yeah,
Microphone off.
It was under lock and key.
Since round 2,
Yeah.
they haven't won a game.
I know, mate.
Clarkson's gone.
Yeah.
They brought Brett Ratton back.
Yeah.
Now there's chaos on the bench.
Yeah.
I think that you might be having a bigger hand in this than you're letting on.
John,
I
on
think
behalf
this is all
of
because
the
you.
Kangaroo supporters, can I ask what the
Well, this is my grand plan all along. I really wanted to white out everyone. I wanted to just send the joint into chaos so I could get appointed head coach by the end of the year.
Are you
you
giving
go.
their money back? You should give their money back.
I'm doing it for the love of it. You know that? Hey, you do get, last week, beautiful schnitzel at lunch
Oh.
and sweet potato mash with some gravy on top.
That's all you get?
That's all I'm getting. It's just magnificent. Get down there and tell a few stories,
Dreamtime.
It's like doing a sporty every Monday arvo.
Can you imagine all the young North Melbourne players around JB as he's giving them fresh ears of some of his stories?
That's well, anyway, boys, the Dark kicked 10 against Carlton. I ran them through that last week, so I'm going to have to think of some new material. Maybe a couple of greyhound stories today, Doc.
Anyway, mate, what's your name? I'll get your name tatted on my ass.
They're a lot better. But one thing I will say about North Melbourne, it's pretty exciting for fans of the club. Obviously, there's a lot happened last year with the Jason Horne-Francis trade away. But part of that deal, they got pick 3 and 4. It's always exciting as fans when you have hope.
Yeah.
And Sheasel's going to be a superstar of the competition.
Great, kicked a couple.
Pick 3, and then pick 4 comes on. First game on Saturday afternoon.
Looked a mate
Georgie
player.
Wardlaw, he's going to be a superstar as well. So he was dominant in the centre bounce. He's tough. So that's pretty exciting going forward. There's still a long way off, but there's some hope.
I want to try and get this vernacular in AFL footy, and I want you to start tonight on the couch when you talk about Wardlaw.
Yeah.
I want you to start calling, if they come in and they play well from day dot and they look a player,
Yep.
he looks a made man.
A made man.
Like the mafia. You know,
I like
he
that.
looks a made man.
I'm gonna roll with that because we're
Yeah.
going to be talking about them on the couch. Another word that I'll bring up tonight.
Yes, is
Vendetta.
vasectomy. What?
Yeah,
Sorry?
vendetta.
It starts with
Vendetta.
V.
Yes. Yes.
It's going to be tough to get vasectomy in. But I'm going to go with vendetta. So stay tuned for that. That may come throughout the episode.
Did you go limp when I asked you to ask your colleague about his finger in the bun scenario with Wanganeen? And
I forgot.
You forgot,
Shit.
did you?
Hang on.
You forgot.
Bucks and Hopawadi Wanganeen.
The only way you can get vasectomy in, I think, is if a side just slices through an opposition. You say he opened him up like he was going in for a vasectomy.
That's a long.
But
that's a long bow.
I'm not sure about
That I would love you to try that, and then just look at the perplexed faces of your colleagues. What do we do with that?
Could you imagine if I dropped that on the couch? Apropos of nothing.
But Dicko will go with you because he's.
Dicko's hosting tonight.
he's hosting. Gaz is sick.
Shit.
Well, yeah, Crook, he's out of action, and the great Doodle Dixon in off the bench. It's going to be a different show with
Huge.
Doodle Dixon in
That's
charge.
huge.
Oh, can you imagine how much prep Doodle's doing all day?
He'd be
today?
that nervous.
Hey, the great thing about it, obviously, we're going to talk. We've already spoken about Clarko and this whole Hawthorn investigation. Great thing is we'll be able to run a few questions through Doodle Dixon because, he's a big Hawthorn man,
sanctum.
was coached by Clarko in a sanctum there. So he'll be a great host.
Dreamtime at the G. I really love Sir Douglas Nichols around. Just the ceremony before it, I think it's pretty sick. I love it.
Dino, I love it. The whole football world loves it. Why isn't it a standalone game, though?
What do you mean?
Well, Saturday night, why isn't it? So do you realise the Q clash was on? Now, part of it, the side topic is only 20,000 at the Brisbane versus Gold Coast. Gold Coast has been going pretty well, so that was a big clash. Only 20,000 at the Gabba, disappointing crowd.
Yeah.
But game shouldn't even be on at the same time.
Yeah.
This is a celebration.
I reckon too, yeah,
of
yeah.
our First Nation Indigenous culture and what they've meant to the game of football. Obviously, when they were kicking possum skin around 200 years ago, when the early settlers came and saw their game, it became AFL as we know it.
Yeah, let it
originally
stand alone.
Marngrook. It should be a standalone game.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
So I think we can work on that. We can do that better next year because the pre-game, the game itself, the build-up around it's amazing.
The Bombers fans are finally getting to eat. Finally, they've been miserable for a long time. That was pretty exciting. That game. That's
Yeah, it
what
was
a way to
great.
finish.
Well, they've been very good. They belted Melbourne at Gather Round, and then they've played really tough opposition the last few weeks and just went down. They've been gallant, so it's good to see them. I think now you can put a fork in Richmond.
Yeah, it was a loss that they probably couldn't afford right now, this part of the season, without Tommy Lynch and a few. They need to bank wins.
Kane Cornes mentioned how many close games they've lost out of the last 12
Yeah.
close ones. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're not getting the
Yeah.
job done in big moments late in games, Richmond. They haven't for a while.
They're
so
not, aren't they? Yeah. Like,
shooting themselves in the foot.
people have knocked Jack Rewell for kicking that ball into open field, but that's what Richmond do. They kick the ball
Surge.
and knock the ball and they surge it forward. So I wouldn't necessarily blame Jack for that.
All right, before ads, Cripps and Vossi. I heard on the commentary while watching it that they had a few words, but what actually happened, Breds?
Well, Vossi was coaching from the bench and was trying to instruct a few of his players to do something, and then Cripps comes over and the two are having a conversation, and it was a very heated debate, and Cripps is clearly trying to emphasise his own point and something contrary to what Voss is trying to say. And I understand that, players and coaches have difficult conversations, but for a team that is derived of success at the moment, bereft of success. It is a bad look.
The
when
optics aren't great.
A bit naive from Cripper.
Not naive. You have those challenging discussions, but usually they're in the compounds of the
Yeah, but
the
to not-
rooms.
Confines of
To
the
not
room.
to, not to realise the optics and just maybe keep a lid on it.
Dino, it's a very good point. One bit of advice my old man gave me when I was starting out in this caper. He
Before
said,
you decker, wrap your pecker.
Absolutely, yes. He was fantastic. And something about a vasectomy, I can't remember, Dog, but he was big on don't challenge the coach in front
Publicly.
of you. Yeah,
Right.
publicly. Don't challenge the coach publicly. So, and that's even in a setting.
You can feel it.
In the meeting. Don't have a blue with a coach in the meeting setting in front of your other teammates as well.
You
So,
can feel angry,
yeah.
but have a bit of poker face.
Yeah, it was
a
interesting.
bit of Buddy Franklin about it.
The one thing I will say, Broads, is he looked like the captain Vossi on the weekend. He was hard in the press conference. He's put it fairly and squarely on the Carlton players. Defensively, they're not good enough, and he just had that look like he was ready to, it looked like Vossi the captain on the
Brody
weekend,
wants
which
to-
I haven't seen as much of late.
You want to
And
put a bullet in him?
I'm saying this week in, week out until you guys start to
Don't.
see it from my
Don't.
perspective.
Don't you
Stop
say
Do
it.
you want us to wedge you?
He is not the right man for Carlton.
No,
Jeez.
Brody.
Get
The
out.
rift is
I
getting
think-
bigger.
Get out.
He's
I
losing
just
the
think we
players.
overemphasise their list. I think from 1 to 8, they're
Spot on.
unbelievable, and then from 9 through to 30, it's just they're ordinary footballers. They're stars of stars, but they don't have the
Disappointing,
balance.
yeah, a lot of disappointing elements to their game. They've got deficiencies everywhere. Forwards, mids, and back have all got deficiencies. And how can you win big games? How can you trust players in big games when guys like McGovern do some of the things they did? Not covering Bobby Hill at first bounce. Not straight lining the ball at one stage, getting pushed out of the way by Myercheck. Like, you can't have players that'll die in your arms in big moments because you have to be able to survive the pressure of AFL football at 2 o'clock on grand final day.
Now
And
that
at the moment, I'm not sure whether they've got enough of those guys that can.
that's eloquent from you, and that's going to get us to the ads. Good morning, or whatever time it is you're listening to this. Hey, we got one of the Cornes brothers.
Yes, we have. Which
No,
one?
we got Kane. We got
Yeah,
Kane
we got
coming up
Kane.
because he's playing in the Carlton draft, and we got the commissioner here. We'll do that next.
This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome back to Brownie's podcast. Now we'll get to this later, but I can say right now that bus trip is actually happening. Confirmed, right, John?
It's happening. Well, it's happening no matter what. So I don't give a that anyone's on board. I'm getting the day off. Dog's getting the day off. Brody's getting the day off. Dino's getting the day off.
Beck,
Beck-
you coming?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Beck's going to be there. I tell you what, it'll be baptism of fire for
Mate,
Beck.
it's gonna be eye-opening.
Just FYI, Beck is our TikTok and social girl. She does a great job.
Absolutely. Now, Dog, what do you got?
As
this
long as
Stevie?
there's windows in the bus so I can vape on the way up, I'm happy. I was listening to Triple M on Sunday.
Triple M.
And it was the lead up to the Carlton Collingwood game. And Stevie J doing a great job on Sunday Arvos for Triple M. He was in the box with Nathan Brown and Joey Montagna, Daisy Thomas, and they were interviewing Scott Selwood, who is an assistant coach at Collingwood, and this is how the interview went down.
Scotty, how's Harry Mackay sort of handled the criticism that's been come his way during the week? Criticism.
I'm the Collingwood coach, not the Carlton.
So Stevie gets rattled.
Go into the other room and find out for us. That'd be great.
He thinks they're giggling the fact that he says criticism wrong, but it's the fact that he's asking a question to the Collingwood coach has got nothing to
About
do
the
with
Carlton
Carlton.
play.
Yes.
So I couldn't help
Yes.
but piss myself at that. That is great, and we've all been there and done that. We've
mate.
been on radio a lot. I remember one
Was
day
he pissed?
he wasn't pissed.
Jeez.
I was. This wasn't on air, but I was at a function, and about 2 minutes before Robert Hickmott, who's a multiple Melbourne Cup winning trainer, was about to come on stage. Tony Hasham grabs me. He goes, "Brownie, I know nothing about horse racing. You go up and interview him, right?" So I said, "Okay." Gee, I had no time to do any prep or anything, so I go up on stage. I welcome Robert Hickmott. He comes up. We have a quick chat about his success, and then I say to him, "Geez, Robert, the Australia Cup a couple of weeks ago, mate. That unbelievable win at a big price, homesman, and it must have been pretty emotional. I know that Michael Gudinski was a part owner of that horse, and Matty Hill gave one of the great calls of all time, the Music Man dancing from above. Tell us about that victory and what it means to you. And he turns to me and says, "Oh, Brownie, it was a terrific win, but unfortunately I don't train at Anthony and Sam Friedman do, right?"
Yes.
Which is very similar to what
Yes.
Stevie J
Mate,
did, right?
that's spot
And
on.
you panic, you go red. Like, it's the worst feeling, JB. You would have had one.
The shocker. Well, the one I can remember, we were interviewing Shania Twain on the Breggy show. There's Chrissy Swan, Sam Pang, myself, and Dino, and Pangy called us Shania Twain the whole fucking interview. Mate,
And she was so polite.
She's so polite, she didn't correct him.
wow.
Mate, it was astonishing. But the best one I've got for on air is poor old Dino. I think you may have got thrown under the bus, Dino, because we threw to you during the show to hit a certain sound or a bit of music, and this is Dino.
.au.
Now. Hit the right button now.
It's bloody busted.
Mate. But also we had Nigella on. We had Nigella Lawson on.
Yeah.
And I'm infatuated with the humble marijuana plant. I think it's a really interesting plant. And I asked her about cooking with weed, Campbell. Like, that's a fair question, right?
I think so.
She's a chef. It's a niche interest of mine.
Home cooking is more about finding ways to communicate with people than to impress them.
Hey, Nigella, have you ever cooked with weed?
No.
Okay, sure.
Geez, that went well.
Yeah, you know what? Just a little bit of background here. Before the interview, you get some writers about, when they're interviewing someone, what not to ask them about. Specifically, the instructions were, do not ask Nigella Lawson about any drug use. Because remember, she was in the news for potential drug use.
Correct.
Mate, that's
years
hard
ago.
drugs. I'm talking about the humble plant.
Oh, wow.
That's funny.
Unbelievable.
Did you have to cut that out, or was that live?
That was live, man.
Wow.
No, we went diving underneath the desk when he asked that question.
How good
Unbelievable.
is that feeling?
Oh, hey, so we've got a special guest, right?
Absolutely.
All right, the Carlton draft has kicked off, and one of the marquee players is on the phone. The great man, Chad Cornes.
No. Dino has literally done a Stevie J.
Yes, too.
Hey,
no, it's the
Kane.
great
Hey.
Kane Cornes.
Hey, Kane, I'm sorry about that.
Mate, we're keeping that audio. Don't worry about that. That's
Absolutely. How are you as the commissioner? Well done, mate. Congratulations. Thanks for getting out there and giving back to the community. I know it was a tough day. How did the afternoon pan out for Moyston Wallora?
It was a terrific afternoon, Brownie. Apart from the result, so the scoreboard was ordinary, but the effort of the players was first class. We didn't have probably the skill level of the opposition, and it was a wet, cold day out there. But in terms of the community feel for it, everything that you would expect it to be, and I was really impressed by the footy club. So would have liked to have got a few more touches and contributed a little bit more, and what was a tough day. But all in all, I think it was a memorable day for everyone that was out there.
So when you say the scoreboard didn't pan out as you would have liked, what are we talking? What's, sort of 3 or 4 goal margin?
Well, I thought this was a stitch-up. I saw last night that it was 119 points. I want the scorers to convene and make sure that he's accurate, because that has to be a stitch-up. For those younger audience, we did lose the 2007 grand final by 119 points, which is a record. So bad memories flooding back, Brownie.
Jeez, it's a big loss,
Some
isn't
nice
it? They must
synergy
be
there.
pretty shit, Kane.
One goal, Brownie.
Oh, no. How many touches did you get, and did you have a GPS? So you're still covering the caves that you did back in your footy days?
That was the only positive I could take from it, is I could cover the ground up and back okay. I'm so slow. Like, if you just forget you got to actually burst and run after the footy, and these guys were just running past me. Touches, I might have had 20, but there was nothing to write home about. All uncontested. Didn't have a contested.
Smart.
I don't reckon there was a clearance, and maybe one tackle if I'm lucky.
Oh, geez, that's one more than any of the other boys, I reckon.
And, like some players, they write notes, inspirational stuff on their wrist or their hands before games. Is it true that you had Jay, HF on your wrist for motivation. And no one knew what it meant, but I think I've cracked the code, mate. Jason Horn Francis, is that right?
I've got it tattooed on my inner bicep. What I had written on my hand was "Don't get killed." Do not get killed. I was nervous. The mate I do radio with, David King, of course, reckoned that there was 2 buses of North Melbourne supporters coming up to Laura to heckle me over the fence. Now, thankfully, that was a stitch up, but the opposition were reasonably friendly. There was a couple of big dudes that sort of got me off really in the piece, telling me that how unlucky Laura were to get me and not do anything. No, it was pretty good.
Kane, tell me there was a good old-fashioned country footy coach spray at one of the stoppages, please.
At quarter time there was. Aidan was our coach, playing coach, of course. So the coach plays, the assistant coach plays, they all play. It's amazing how they do it. Now, he's full back, so a pretty tough job to coach the team to full back. He had this headband on and came in with a ferocious spray. We were mucking around with the footy too much in the first quarter, and taking a few risky kick-ins in tricky conditions didn't go down too well with the coach.
Cornesy, I always admire the fact that you call a spade a spade. I feel like in today's society that we're too soft and too emotional. Is there anything that actually sort of rattles you a little bit in terms of criticism coming back?
Yeah, like it's not when you like say something and sometimes you think, okay, I've said that. There's gonna be a pretty big pushback to that because that's controversial. But sometimes you say things just in conversation that sort of get blown up, and there's a big pushback on that. It's never nice when it feels like sort of everyone's coming for you. Like I sort of embrace it a little bit, Browny, as you know, and welcome it. And like it's a game and it's passion and it's emotional, and I'm more than happy to take any talkback callers who want to debate the issue with me, and I really welcome that because I think it's good. I think it's good content. I think that's, to your point, it can become a bit sterile, and it's good to shake things up a little bit. I do follow a lot of what they do in America, and I think their media work is compelling. And I think there's room for us to sort of embrace that a little bit more in Australian culture. So yeah, you get rattled from time to time. It's never great to see your name in the paper for negative reasons, but you still learn to live with it pretty quickly.
Now, Kano, our producer Brody, is a Port Adelaide nuffy. He's just been hanging on the microphone, hanging on to every word. We've allowed him one question. Okay, here you go, Brody.
Don't up.
Good, Brody.
Come on, here we go. Here's your one chance to ask the volcano a question.
Here we go.
Hey, Kane, big fan, mate, and this is an honour to chat to you. I just wanted to ask you, do you remember, it was the year before COVID, so about 2019, I think, and you must have been calling a game at Etihad Stadium at the time. Do you remember being accosted by a bunch of guys and I kissed you on the cheek and then put you in a fireman's carry and said that you were coming to the pub with us and you were trying to fight to get down? Do you remember that? It was a cold, wet night in Melbourne in like the middle of July or something. Do you remember that?
Was it the Saints game?
It was a Saints game.
Hey! Wow!
You're a pest, man. You are.
He was fighting so hard to get out of the fireman's carry, and I was determined to get in there.
Run away, and then I ran across the road to try and get an Uber, and the pub that's across the road might be the platform 28. There were all the Saints fans just heckling me as I was getting into a taxi.
What is a fireman's carry? Is it like a?
You just put them over the shoulder, so their legs are off the ground, and you just run with them.
You're the wrong person. Clearly, I failed at being a fireman. You just walk into a pretty building and you carry them out in any way you can.
Oh, great call back there, mate. Hey, well, as the commissioner, well done, mate. Thanks for getting out there and giving back to local communities because it's a tough ask to get out there, and obviously the boys haven't played. You're a 4-time best and fairest winner, a premiership player at Port Adelaide, but you haven't laced up for a few years, mate. So well done for getting out there. The envelope's in the mail, mate. I'll send it through to you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate you having me involved, and love your work. It's a pleasure to be on the Brownies podcast.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Cornesy. Good on you, mate.
You. Ads back in a second.
This is Brownies Podcast.
Welcome back to Brownies Podcast. Well, where's that Country Road song again? Because take me home. It's very relevant because this bus trip idea we had to go watch Bucks in the Carlton draft at what footy club? What are they called?
They are called Nilmadarnum Football Club, just on the outskirts. Well, not on the outskirts, a little bit out of Warragul.
So we thought footy trip. Let's get a bus. Let's take a whole bunch of degenerates. And but for months, a month at least, we're going. Is it happening? Is it not? It's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happening, and let's hope. I'm glad we're going by bus because famously John Denver was killed in a plane crash.
Good point, John. Very good point.
So we'll be safely on the ground. Hopefully the bus driver gets us there safely, but it's going to be big. I think I'm going to put it on the table on Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, we're just going to get the punters. It's going to be a punters trip. We love that. Dog, you're going to be there. Broads, Dino, we're all going to be there. We know that. We're going to be in the crowd. It's going to be huge. I think we need a couple of special guests.
I agree.
I do too.
So
Pikey comes to mind, but we'll get to this. But just in my heart,
You want
Pikey on that bus, man.
Uncle
Really?
Martin.
Uncle Martin, are you kidding me?
Oh, wow, that's a great. He's perfect for that, isn't he?
I think he'd be good.
Country for he could almost be security. So we'll sort that out. Throw some suggestions forward on the WhatsApp group, but we'll talk about it more on Friday.
All right. In the meantime.
What a world. Now, a big shout out here to Alex Anderson, who sent me this What a World. It's really growing, this segment, where a lot of people, week to week, just slide into my DMs and send them to me.
Oh, really?
And this one's a little bit morbid. Right?
Is that all they're sending you?
This one's a little bit morbid, but it's extraordinary, right? So, a 82-year-old pensioner called Shivdayal Sharma in India. He's from Alwar, Rajasthan, India.
I love how he tries to pronounce every detail in these articles.
Some would say unnecessary parts.
No, they're really important. You've got to put a name and a face and a place to a lot of these things, just for authenticity. 82-year-old standing there, obviously got a weak bladder, needs to relieve himself near a train line. So he's standing near a train line, weeing with his mate. And unfortunately for him, a express train come flying along, hit a cow. The cow shot 100 metres in the air and lands on Shivdayal Sharma while he's weeing and crushes him to death.
What?
Yes, mate. So we hear the saying, pigs may fly. In this particular occasion, a cow actually flew. And it's cost poor old Shivdayal his life.
Jeez.
And we're not laughing about this. And apparently cows...
Oh, I'm laughing.
Cows
It would appear that we're laughing.
Cows getting hit on the tracks is not an uncommon occurrence. There's been 26,180 incidents of cows crossing lines when express trains come.
Jesus.
And this is the first time it's actually...
That'd look awesome on slow-mo.
It would.
jeez.
And while that is a morbid thought, it would. The facts are, it would look interesting.
That'd be a good TikTok.
So
Get onto it.
Very harsh. And he was 100 metres away. It lands on him.
Mate.
And that story about the cow, that ain't bull.
Oh, my God.
Oh, poor way to finish.
How excited was he about that?
Yeah.
Did you think of that? How long have you been sitting on
It
that
just
for?
came to me. I thought I'm just going to go with it.
The drive
Hey,
in.
mate. No, mate, I like your confidence and always stick to it, you son of a bitch.
I love that. 26,000 times a
How
cow hit by
unlucky
a
would you
train,
be?
but how many times has a cow been hit by a train and landed on a bloke pissing?
I know.
Also, you know when you're having a wee in public or whatever, and you have a moment to yourself.
You
just
never think you're going to get hit by a cow and die.
You're thinking about the day he would have looked up and thought, a cow's coming at me. That's wild. That is absolutely what. Hey,
What a last thought
mate,
to have before you go.
that's a cow.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Yeah, I'm dead. Doesn't matter what sort of cow it is, you're dead.
Unbelievable, dog.
Anyway.
All right, degenerates. We're bus chat on Friday. We all know you want to be on it. It's going to be big. Have a good one.
Take care.